Okay, everybody. Should be able to grab us over there. Okay. If you just press home over there. Hi, folks. Welcome. I'll just make sure. Oh, yes, there we are. It's a very strange new world, isn't it? There we are. No. Welcome to the Saturday streaming, number 3. Off the beaten track tonight. For those who are tuning in for the first time, doubly welcome. And I know we've got some folks tuning in from further away. New York. It must be early in New York. And in England as well. Chloe and I are here in our little studio in our home in Millthorpe, New South Wales, in the Tablelands. And it's the heart, really, of Wiradjuri country here. Wiradjuri being the Aboriginal nation marked by 3 rivers. We've got the Wombool, and the whitefellas call them Macquarie, and the Kalare, which is the Lachlan, my river, and the Murrumbidgee, which is the Murrumbidgee.
Yep, doesn't change.
And we would like to acknowledge before we start that this is Wiradjuri country. Never ceded, no treaties, and all due respect and admiration for the elders of the past, present, some of the folks we know, and some of those young emerging elders coming through. Good luck, good luck. Exciting times, I hope, good times. And yeah, never ceded, no treaty, always was, is and will be Aboriginal country. Which leads us into our first couple of pieces tonight. Off the beaten track, I think we've picked a list of things that all come from off the beaten track, maybe even off the beaten track sometimes. We're going to go a few different places. We're going to start with a list of a couple of football songs.
Yep.
We were very sad just a couple of weeks ago to lose the great Tasmanian songman Ronnie Summers. Ronnie was a remarkable fella, and he sang some terrific songs. Comes from those Cape Barren folks down there who had a long history of fiddle tunes and music. Just, you wouldn't believe the joy and the beauty of that music unless you've heard it already. One of the songs Ronnie sang, in fact just a couple of years ago we had a chance to do this with the big band and Ronnie on stage, was the Cape Barren football song. So we're going to start with the Cape Barren football song. It's Ronnie said before we sang it with him, he said, "Sometimes I put myself in the song." And of course now we do as well, because he played. So we've got Cape Barren. Now this is, for those a bit further away, this is Tasmanian football, not my code. You can tell a lot about someone by the code they follow. Yeah, you know, that other game, point for a miss and all that stuff. Ronnie was playing for Cape Barren, and the football song is talking about a match against the White Mark boys on the neighbouring Flinders Islands. So we've got almost all Aboriginal team against a team of, I guess, mostly white fellas. Part of the Cape Barren dance music scene involved a tune called the Mutton Birders Jig. Beautiful tune, we'll play that second. But funnily enough, the Mutton Birders Jig was the tune used by Babs Vincent for the Euabalong football song. Now Euabalong's much closer to us here and much more our code of football, rugby league. So we'll use the Mutton Birders Jig, we'll sing the Euabalong football song. And again, there were many Aboriginal players in the Euabalong team, mostly. And the last tune is another one of the Cape Barren tunes, and I like to think it's kind of like the result of the match.
Yeah. Now is not the time to have a divided nation. We're going to bring the two codes together. We're going to make them sit quietly in a room together and get to know each other.
2 games of football and a celebration, and the celebration tune is give you some idea how we think the matches go. It's called The Black Cat Piddled in the White Cat's Eye.
Come on, you White Mark boys, and show us the game. The boys from Cape Barren will not run away. For kicking and marking and going up to Stan, Hector and Gino and Tom Brownie too. They promised to play us on the 20th of June. The weather's been fine, boys, you'd better come soon. Ah, come on, you white mark boys, and show us the game. The boys from Cape Barren will not run away. I don't bring Billy Martin to umpire the game. We will object, boys, and take him away. We have our own umpire with eyes sharp and keen. He's only a sailor from out of the Gene, and his name is Jack Lawson, a fair and just man. Ah, come on, you white mark boys, and play if you can. Come on, you white mark boys, and show us the game. The boys from Cape Barren will not run away. For kicking and marking and going up to Stan, Hector and Gino and Ronnie Summers too.
Euabalong now. Oh, the time is here to pack your gear, as on the bus we go. We're going to play some footy and we'll do Jellicoe. When the whistle goes toot, use your boot boots on for young and old. We'll hear the women yelling, come on the black and gold.
Oh, come on, you black and gold.
We're a happy bunch of trappers, we never train or run. We only play our footy just to give the crowd some fun. We never import players, we breed them all year round. And every boy that's born here will play for our hometown. To pack your gear, but you must understand, you gotta play the type of footy that was played by your old man. And when you played for years like us and you were getting old, be proud to say you played one day and wore the black and gold. Be proud to say you played one day and wore the black and gold. Full time, one for Cape Barren. Take it, Chloe. One for Ronnie, hey?
Alright.
Oh, the black cat pedalled in the white cat's eye. The white cat said, oh my, oh my. The black cat said, do you want some more? The white cat said, no, my eye's too sore. the Cape Barren football song, the Euabalong football song. Not enough football songs, but getting played around the place at the moment. And so we like to redress that a bit. We're going to go on to a song now. Look, if I said that this was my favourite Australian song, favourite song of all time, well, it's right up there. I can't split this with a few others, but it's a song written by an Aboriginal man whose name was Billy Redmond. Came from Walker a long time ago, much older. Wasn't any football being played, I don't think, when Billy wrote this song. It's a song called Woodbine Hill. If anyone is listening from up in that part of the world or familiar with the Walker area, then maybe you know Woodbine Hill. And the sense of place in this song is really quite extraordinary, but it's a love song. I remember we learnt this song from the amazing Maisie Kelly. Maisie's voice, Maisie's singing, her presence on recording. We never met Maisie, but we've heard her sing many, many times, and I'll never forget the first time I heard Maisie sing. It's like a voice that drops a kilometre under the ground. And Gracie Quinlan. We did meet Gracie Quinlan, was another Aboriginal woman from, at that stage she was living down towards Kempsey, Nulla Creek. There's that well-trodden path between Kempsey, Nulla Creek, Bellbrook, and up the old goat track to New England, to Armidale. A lot of music in common through that area. And so when we first started playing this song about 20 years ago, I remember talking to Jacko Kevins about it. And Jacko expressed an opinion that I know is shared by some other folklorists, that there's a line in this song about the love we shared that could never be. And it is a bit of guesswork there, but it's quite conceivably that we're talking about a love song written by a black man, but about a European woman. It's just possible. Certainly the song is in that European style, but it's one of a kind, this song. And we go straight from the song to a waltz from the same part of the world. We learned from David de Hugo, but he got it from Kath McCoy. And look, it just seemed to fit very well. It's from the same part of the world, and it's even the name sort of resonated with Woodbine Hill. It's called Fair Fair with the Golden Hair.
Woodbine Hill, I can see thee still, where the sunlight's on the dewdrops shine. It was there that I first fell in love with a pretty little maid of Woodbine. No one knows how much I cared. She promised to be mine. Now I rue the day I learned to love the maid of old Woodbine. Oh, Woodbine Hill, I can see thee still. May the lights of heaven on you shine. For it was joy to meet you, but sad to leave. Farewell, false maid, you and old Woodbine. No cruel fate can proclaim she filled my heart with joy. Now I rue the I learned to love the maid of old Woodbine. Oh, Woodbine Hill, I can see thee still, where the sunlight's on the dewdrops shine, and the love we shared that could never be. Farewell, false maid of old Woodbine. Now I rue the day
Woodbine Hill from Billy Redmond, and Fair, Fair with the golden hair. You can see probably, if you're looking there, quite a lot of old books behind us. And a lot of the times when you're looking around in dusty old books for a song, you find dusty old poetry that really should stay there. And sometimes though, when you're looking, you find something really intriguing. And this next piece, we don't know who wrote this next song. We wrote the melody, we wrote the tune, but the song is to that great composer Anon. Who's listening, Chloe? You've got the monitor.
Oh, we've got Ian.
Oh, g'day, Ian.
Ian, Jason Bailey,
Yeah.
Ron McLaughlin, Jamie B,
Sure.
Craig Dawson, Lorraine McCrimmon.
Good
Hello,
on
hello,
you,
hello.
folks. Hello. Some good names in there, thanks. Nice to know you're out there. Yeah, this is a piece called Diggins-Oh, and it's written just as the text is in a dusty old book. I'm not sure which one. It's around here somewhere. Stuart and Keesing's one of those ones, I think. But anyway, the point is, the author's not there, but the other point about it is it struck us that it was a song. Sometimes you can just see a set of words and think, that's a song. And even if it wasn't, we decided it should be and wrote a melody. And as we wrote the melody, something about the sort of vaguely European feel of the tune we were writing. It's a Goldfield song, a Diggins song. It's called the Diggins-Oh. As we were writing the melody and playing it, we were reminded of a song that we learnt from Alan Musgrove back in about 1999. And Alan had learnt it from an Italian-Australian accordion player from northern Victoria called Joe Hilder. Joe Hilder's tune, and it's a strange tune, an unusual tune. So it fits right in with off the beaten track tonight. And we stuck them together. So you've got the Diggins-Oh, the words anonymous, and some of Joe's tune in there as well.
And please, you can sing along with this one. You'll pick it up pretty quick.
True.
There's a repeated line, and there's also kind of a moaning chorus.
Yes, a little bit of Roger Montgomery in the chorus.
Which you'll see is quite appropriate.
Yes. The Diggins-Oh.
all skin and bone
from the Diggins-Oh,
and I wish I'd never gone
to the Diggins-Oh.
Believe me, 'tis no fun. I once weighed 50 stone, but they brought me down to one at the Diggins-Oh. I thought a good home could be found at
The Diggins-Oh,
but soon I found I got aground at the Diggins-Oh. The natives came one day and burnt my cottage down like hay, and with my wife they ran away to the Diggins-Oh. I built a hut with mud at the Diggins-Oh, and that got washed away by flood at the Diggins-Oh. I used to dig and cry, it wouldn't do to die.
Undertakers charge too high at the Diggins-Oh.
I paid for victuals with a frown at the Diggins-Oh. 3 potatoes, half a crown at the Diggins-Oh. Sprats 5 shillings a dish. If 4 Dutch plates you wish, well, $2 a wine that fish at the Diggins-Oh. A crown a pound for steaks at the Diggins-Oh, and ditto chops and no great shakes at the Diggins-Oh. 5 hog a small pig's cheek. If a herring red you seek, well, one will keep you dry a week at the Diggins-Oh. Table beer, 2 bob a quart at the Diggins-Oh, and get your eyes gouged out for naught at the Diggins-Oh. 5 shillings a 4-pound brick, butter a shilling a lick. They never give no tick at the Diggins-Oh. Diggins-Oh, and with my nuggets they made free at the Diggins-Oh. I escaped from bodily hurt, though they stole me very shirt. I had to paint myself with dirt at the Diggins-Oh. I felt quite a ruined man at the Diggins-Oh. Thinks I'll get home if I can from the Diggins-Oh. I was always catching cold, and I've been both bought and sold, like many more for gold at the Diggins-Oh. But now I am safe returned from the Diggins-Oh, and never more I mean to roam to the Diggins-Oh. If some people's fortune mends, much on the man depends. I'd sooner be here with my friends than at the Diggins-Oh.
So that's Joe Hilder's tune on the end there, and it's a wild and wonderful tune. think Chloe and I have always kind of been attracted to the music from the side of the road, as Neil Young would say. And just past the camera here, I'm looking at Catherine Scott's beautiful painting of John Dengate. Always stands behind us there, stand behind you, keeping us honest. And just over John's head, I can see one of Tom Waits' quotes that we've got hanging around on our wall, which says, "If they've heard it before, they stop listening." Tom's got a way with words, and certainly lives up to his own creed there with his music. For those who aren't familiar with the Saturday streaming idea, they're free concerts with every hope that some people will be kind enough to donate or buy albums, but absolutely free. Please come and listen, regardless of any intent or ability to chip in. The way you chip in is jump over at the end of the concert, I hope, and some people have already paid before. Thank you very much if you're out there. On the front page of the website, I think it's down the bottom a little bit, but there's a donate button. You scroll down and there's a donate button. It just takes you through PayPal, and every little bit helps, every big bit helps a lot. But please just join in and come and those who've donated over the past couple of weeks, we know, and please just come and listen again. We're trying to be as relaxed as we can about this kind of thing, and thankfully so far it's going really well. So thank you very much, everybody. Thank you very much. Keeping just that little bump in the bank balance every week is just helping us through a pretty tough time with lack of gigs, like all of us. I think in the space of about 2 weeks when the virus hit, we watched $35,000 worth of gigs disappear that were already on the books, and of course nothing else has come in. So it's a considerable burden, but we're finding a lot of upsides being here at home, working on our music. We're very comfortable, warm, we're schooling the kids. So that's how it works. Saturday streaming, part of our work from home. We're doing this Saturday streaming. Every weekend we're doing a Saturday night, which will be very different in theme. Hopefully very few repeats.
Some weeks are going to be themed shows, and some weeks are requests. Who knows what we'll get to. We've got a fair list already. Yeah, we do. So we've got a request list that's going really well for next weekend, and after that, on the 1st of August, we're doing our We Go On Disobeying show for John Dengate. But just for now, I'm going to send out a blanket apology. John used to say, never explain, never apologise. So just to explain, I'm sorry. This is a Stephen Foster song, or at least it started life as a Stephen Foster song. Those beautiful melodies, Hard Times, Come Again, No More, Gentle Annie, they all came out with the minstrel shows in the 19th century to Australia. And when they're great tunes, they disappeared into the bush really quickly, but the words didn't seem to suit the Australian bush singers very well. A little bit the same way I think that some of the old country ballads from England and Ireland brought out. If you look at the Irish and English versions, they tend to have magic. Often the magic was shod when they came out to Australia, and they become much straighter, and they got rid of the sort of mystical and the magical edge. Well, with Stephen Foster, they shot through the sentimentality of their time. You know the songs. They're incredibly sentimental. And this song we're going to do now treats one of Stephen Foster's songs very badly. Stephen wrote a song called Old Dog Tray. And it's one of those songs, a bit like Old Shep, those songs where the dog gets lost and the fella's really cut up, really sad. Well, some bush singer got his hands on this one, and another nod to Alan Musgrove for I always hear Alan singing this one. Unless my watch is fast and the morning time is past and the sing of the dawn it's too late in the day, well, I've tried to change you there, almost more than I can bear, which reminds me of
my old dog Tray. Old dog Tray was ever faithful. Grief came upon him though one day, for the governmental hacks would insist upon their tax, which was fatal to my old dog Tray. Oh, he was very good at rats and a mortal foe to cats. Oh, we were more like brothers than I care to say, but 8 shillings every year for his company it was dear. It made an end of old dog Tray. Old dog Tray, he had a plateful of meat and potatoes one fine day, but inside that savoury mass hid a dose of prussic acid. 'Twas fatal to my old dog Tray. Well, they bore him from my sight, it overcame me quite. I was ill, I was wretched, I was wasting away. From my food I loathing turned, my dinner beer I spurned, thinking of my old dog Tray. Old dog Tray, we met again now. To eat they enticed me one day, with some tempting savoury pies, in which I recognised the flavour of my old dog Tray. Oh, dog's eye with sauce, mate, please. This is Teddy Creighton's set tune. Another New England tune, yeah! For the dog lovers, but it's a very funny song, and we are off the beaten track. And that was quite off, wasn't it? It was off.
It was quite
off. We're going to sing.
What was that lovely joke though? Love dogs.
Couldn't eat a whole one. That one. This next piece is our last before we get our special guests on tonight. We've got our Megan and Joanna are both lined up a couple of surprises for us, which will be fun. Oh, it's so nice to dig into the repertoire. Chloe and I have been in the habit of turning the repertoire over every year for 30 years, so I was starting to think before this virus, I knew that there were certain songs, you were never sure which ones, but that you would never sing again. And the reason I guess we were so excited about an off-the-beaten-track idea is because we knew we could dig into the back catalogue a bit. And this is a song that we don't know who wrote it, and we don't know who sang it. It was a recording found by David DeSanti and Jane Brownlee when they did the Folk Fellowship, 2002 or 3, something, I'm not sure. But they, by the way, that's the National Library's Folk Fellowship, and they're advertising for folks to apply to do that. And this year, of all years, it might just work out really well to do that fellowship for someone out there. So It's a grand idea to get inside the National Library and dig through those recordings and see what you can turn up. And the only thing we know about this song, to be honest, is that the recording sounds quite a lot like Bert Lloyd. Quite possibly
so
is A.L. Lloyd that has found it or wrote it or whatever. We don't know anything else. But it's a striking song, certainly an off-the-beaten-track song. Beaten track instrument, this one. Hofner archtop guitar that Mike Martin sailed down the Amazon River. Don't know what he had hidden inside.
Back when it was a guitar.
Back when it was a guitar, and then Jack Spira put the bouzouki neck on for us. It's a lovely old ornery instrument.
Come, old friend, and come with me. I'll show you poor Jack's grave beneath a violet mile tree, out near a wombat's cave. We never more will hear him talk, nor see his kindly face. So come, me lads, and with me ride to Jack's last resting place. He won't round up wild cattle no more, nor run wild horses again, and no more make his stock whip roar while galloping o'er the plain. He's resting in his last long sleep, and may get God's grace. Surely we're not too hard to weep at Jack's last resting place. Jack was strapping on his rug and his quad pod. He said he'd try the wild mob, and he put his horse in a trot. He never returned from that trip, no sign of him could we trace, until the black boys found his whip near Jack's last resting place. He was holding in his skeleton hand his quad scribbled on with a knife, and the words they make my hair stand told how Jack lost his life. He said, me horse fell on me thigh, it is a hopeless case, so I must linger here all day, this plain me resting place. My brain is like a burning coal, as alone in the bush I lie, with a sinful life upon me soul, how hard it is to die. I perish here in pain and thirst, death's brand upon me face. My sufferings are those of the damned, here in me resting. Bushmen wild and gay, take warning by Jack's fate. Prepare now for your last day, repent before it's too late. You wild and reckless men beware, for death you must all face. Don't curse and drink and gamble, think of Jack's last resting place.
Sorry for those folks out there who are swearing
Drinking
and
taking
gambling.
a gamble on this show. Yes.
Yes, very of its time moralising in that last verse. Makes me wonder if it was tacked on in some ways, but it's woven through the song as well. A really interesting text and a wee bit scary as well. All right, time for our special guests. I believe we've got Megan coming up first, and then we'll have Joanna as well. But cheers, everybody. Nice to have your company on a Saturday night. And here's Megan.
Hello.
Hey.
Well, yeah. The thing I'm going to do is less oddball overall and more it's kind of always been the kind of strange outlier of my own repertoire of poetry. I only learned it because I found it in a book that I was reading. We were visiting my grandpa and all the grown-ups were doing boring grown-up things like talking for more than 5 minutes, so I decided to go and read books instead. And I stumbled across this one and just knew immediately that I had to learn this right away and went and requested to take the book home. And a couple weeks later I'd figured it out. This is a poem that was written by A.A. Milne. Sir Brian had a battle axe with great big knobs on. He went among the villagers and blipped them on the head. On Wednesday and on Saturday, but mostly on the latter day, he called at all the cottages, and this is what he said. I am Sir Brian. Tingling. I am Sir Brian. Rat-a-tat. I am Sir Brian, as bold as a lion. Take that, and that, and that. Sir Brian had a pair of boots with great big spurs on, a fighting pair of which he was particularly fond. On Wednesday and on Friday, just to make the street look tidy, he'd collect the passing villagers and kick them in the pond. I am Sir Brian. Splish splash. I am Sir Brian. Splish splosh. I am Sir Brian, as bold as a lion. Is anyone else for a wash? Sir Brian woke one morning and he couldn't find his battle axe. He walked into the village in his second pair of boots. But ere he'd gone a dozen paces, the whole street was full of faces, the villagers all round him with ironical salutes. You are Sir Brian? My. You are Sir Brian? Dear. You are Sir Brian as bold as a lion? Delighted to meet you here. Sir Brian went a journey and he found a lot of duckweed. They pulled him out and dried him and they blipped him on the head. They took him by the breeches and they hurled him into ditches and they pushed him under waterfalls, and this is what they said. You are Sir Brian, don't laugh. You are Sir Brian, don't cry. You are Sir Brian as bold as a lion. Sir Brian the lion, goodbye. Well, Sir Brian struggled home again and chopped up his battle axe. He took his pair of fighting boots and threw them in the fire. He's quite a different person now he hasn't got his spurs on, and he goes about the village as B. Botany, Esquire. I am Sir Brian? Oh, no. I am Sir Brian? Who's he? I don't have a title. I am Botany, just plain Mr. Botany, B.
Yay! Oh, good on you, Digger. Thank you, Megan. Yes, last week we had Activism is Alive, and we had a whole night of values-based, robust entertainment. So I'm glad Megan at least has kept that going tonight, because to be honest, Chloe and I are being a bit more frivolous and going into some personal work. I know what Joanna's going to do, because I have a very minor role to play. Come on in, Joanna, and let us get going.
I'll put my chair up.
Have a nice there's your face over there.
Your face, look over there.
Over there. That's the camera. There you go. Don't worry about the... Yeah. All right, here we go. Joanna is going to do a Lewis Carroll piece, and I'm going to help a little bit. And it's going to involve Joanna is playing the Duchess, and it's a piece called Wow, 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 from Alice in Wonderland, one of our favourites. Mm-hmm. The Duchess began nursing her child again, singing a sort of lullaby to it as she did so, and giving it a violent shake at the end of every line.
I speak roughly to your little boy and beat him when he sneezes. He only does it too annoyed because it knows it teases.
Achoo! Wow, wow, wow. And while the Duchess sang the second verse for the song, she kept tossing the baby so violently up and down, and the poor little thing howled so that Alice could hardly hear the words.
I speak roughly. I speak severely to my boy and beat him and he sneezes. He only does for he can follow in toilet paper when he pleases.
Wow, wow, wow. Oh, can I have a nurse?
Can I have a nurse?
Oh, thank you. Oh, my goodness. There could be no mistake about it. It was neither more nor less than a pig. Yay, Joanna. Good work, Squirt. Say thanks, everybody.
Thanks, everybody.
Okay.
Now, our girls are going off to bed now. That's the theory. It doesn't usually work out like that, but we're going to do our best by singing a lullaby, a tune, and then a song. This is such a familiar lullaby in our house that
Every night we sing this one.
enough for both girls to have learnt very early in their life to say no if they don't want to go to bed. They know when the song comes out. So the tune comes from Kempsey, and a lovely man who we had the pleasure of meeting and recording with Rob Willis and Bruce Cameron. His name was Cecil Chapman. Oh, he's a lovely man, kind of crazy man, a lovely man. Had a very good player of accordions and fiddle. He played this tune on the fiddle. It's a fairly familiar tune to dance musicians, not overly common, but it is around the place, called Just As the Sun Went Down. It seems to have been very popular up in that New England Armidale and down on the Kempsey, Nulla Creek sort of area. But Cecil's version was just beautiful. And so we'll play that one. And the second piece in this medley is a song from one of our very favourite people, Maisie Tucker. We had the pleasure of meeting and singing and recording Maisie quite a few times. She was great company. She was a lively performer. She'd get those eyes going on you and you knew you were in the hands of an expert singer, and her repertoire was enormous. She knew everything from old ads to traditional songs, ballads, Australian songs, just everything. And this is a lullaby that Maisie knew and gave to us. So Just As the Sun Went Down, followed by The Moon's Full Face.
Full face is big and round, a jolly moon is he. He looks very gay as he sails away on the crest of a cloudy sea. The waning moon is thin and old, a weary moon is he. He sits on the rim of the evening sky, just as sleepy as he can be. But the moon the little children love is the sky with the sunlight shining through.
I don't know about you, Chloe, but I had Maisie's face in my noggin all the way through there. And yes, if you think that's going to send the girls off to sleep, it's just not going to work. It won't work, will it?
Yeah, no. But we'll sing that for Chris anyway.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah. That's, if Christine Drummond, if you're out there, that one's for you for sure. Look, we're going to do a couple of pieces now from the late and very great Sally Sloane. This song, I was never a huge Irish music listener growing up. I did come across some albums that got inside, one of the Planksty albums, and there was a Chieftains album with Van Morrison, which sort of found its way into my collection, and I listened to that, but I didn't listen to as much Irish music as a lot of sort of folkies tended to grow up on. So when I heard this song from Sally, I didn't know how common it was. I knew it was an old Irish song. Sally was born in 1892, and she got this song from her mother. Unlike a lot of songs which she picked up from some navvies working. Sally was in parks, and she picked up some songs work from railway workers. She sang lots of Australian songs, identifiably Australian content, but she had some old country ballads, and this was one of them. Eventually I came to understand that this song was around in some Irish versions, but boy oh boy, it didn't have a different feel. What I heard in Sally's music with this song was a very strong song, and as a blues and rock and roll player growing up and psychedelic rock and roll, what I heard was a backbeat. So we arranged Sally's songs like everyone we've sung from tonight, with the exception of Ronnie Summers. Everyone who sang without accompaniment. So the rest is down to what we've been able to do. So this is a song, and it is a vote for peace. The mother in this song is a strong woman, and she undergoes quite a transformation herself, as does her boy. This is our version of a song that Sally called My Son Ted. 2, 3.
The sergeant said, would you like to make a soldier out of your son Ted? With a scarlet coat and a big red hat. Now, Mrs. McGrath, wouldn't you like that? With a too-ri-ra, fall-a-riddle-da, right, fall-a-riddle-dolly-dido. So Mrs. McGrath lived on the seashore for the space of 7 long years or more. She saw a big ship sailing into the bay. Here's my son Ted, we should clear the way. With a too-ri-ra, fall-a-riddle-da, right, fall-a-riddle-dolly-dido. Oh, and Captain dear, where have you been? Have you been sailing o'er the Mediterranean? Or have you any tidings of my son Ted? Is the poor boy living or is he dead? With a too-ri-ra, fall-a-riddle-da, right, fall-a-riddle-dolly-dido. She kisses him a dozen times or two, saying, Holy Moses, is it you? With a too-ri-ra, fall-a-riddle-da, right, fall-a-riddle-dolly-dido. Ah, then were you drunk, or were you blind, that you left your 2 fine legs behind? Or was it walking upon the sea? Wore your 2 fine legs from your knees? With a too-ri-ra, fall-a-riddle-da, right, fall-a-riddle-dolly-dido. No, I wasn't drunk and I wasn't blind.
ride 2 fine legs behind. For a cannonball on the 5th of May, took my 2 fine legs from the knees away with a too-ra-ra, fall-a-riddle-da, right, fall-a-riddle-dolly-da.
Cried, your 2 fine legs were your mama's pride. Those stumps of a tree wouldn't do it all. Why didn't you run from the big cannonball with a too-ra-ra, fall-a-riddle-da, right, fall-a-riddle-dolly-dido? For foreign wars I do proclaim, between Don John and the King of Spain. By heaven I'll make them rue the time that they swept the legs from a child of mine with a too-ra-ra, fall-a-riddle-da, right, fall-a-riddle-dolly-dido. Oh, then if I had you back again, I'd never let you go to fight the King of Spain. I'd rather my dad as he used to be than the King of France and his whole navy with a too-ra-ra, fall-a-riddle-da, right, fall-a-riddle-dolly, too-ra-ra, fall-a-riddle-da, right, fall-a-riddle-dolly-dido. Peace. Peace, everybody. Another one from Sally now, and it's one of Sally's that when I heard this one I thought it would be a very popular song, that it would be picked up and sung, and it turns out I don't think that's the case. It's a familiar tale. We've heard other songs that tell this kind of story, but I think this is a beauty of Sally's. If you don't know Sally's work, oh gosh, have a look, because not only is she one of Australia's great singers, one of the world's great singers, with a repertoire of extraordinary Australian songs, but she was a dance musician on a button accordion, fiddle, harmonica, banjo, and pretty much anything else you wanted to give her, I'm sure she could get a tune out of. She sang all her work, as far as I'm aware of, at least on the recordings, unaccompanied. And yeah, I really like this one. So I've been a wild boy, but I'll be so no more. the floor. Oh, I've been a wild boy, but I'll be so no more. Well, it's next down to Newgate, a prisoner I stand, and what I have longed for is now out of hand, and if ever I gain my liberty as I have before, oh, I'll be a good boy as I have been strange doors. I've done so myself, but I'll do so no more. I'll go home to my family, I'll go home to my wife, and I'll be a good boy all the rest of my life.
Well, boy. We were talking about what makes an off-the-beaten-track piece, and I don't think we've done a gig in a long time without one of Dennis Kevin's works. So here's one of Dennis's, one of my favourite poems of Dennis's. For those who remember Dennis, you probably remember him doing this piece. Chloe's going to put a couple of dance tunes in there as well. Haven't done it for ages, but it's a terrific work, and it's a true story. Of course it's true. When the monkeys rode the Greyhounds around the track at Carroll Park, the race was through the hurdles. It was a lovely lark. The jockeys, little monkeys, fully grown, who stuck like glue, with their silks a lovely colour, and the numbers printed too. Hold him up, don't go too early, keep his nose down on the rail. If you fall off going outward, grab him homeward by the tail. And the monkeys nodded wisely as they trotted to the boxes. Oh, some whips were khaki-handed, the rest were orthodoxes. The Ashton Circus monkeys are the best, said Paddy West, but Charlie, down from Toolong, said Sawley's rode with zest. The jockeys are not monkeys, countered Tess from Terrigal. They're undersized apprentices in hairy overalls. Now, the greatest hurdle jockey that this country ever knew was a little spider monkey who'd wandered from the zoo. With a style like Darby Munro, in a finish he was grand. Oh, he could pull the leaders backward with a tug of either hand. But so Sal from Saratoga threw her tuppence in the hat. But Wally from Wallachia wasn't satisfied with that. No, a little cappuccino off a boat from Singapore had the poker face of Thompson and the sit of Georgie Moore. You can spiel your spider monkeys, you can prattle all you like, but that little cappuccino was as good as Jimmy Pike. There's been a plunge, said Tommy. Oh, there's been a plonk, said Ron. The monkeys came in regiments. They placed their bets and gone. The intercom was sounding, the lights came on the track, and this drunk I know kept yelling, but what did the monkeys back? I didn't see their numbers, they just pointed at the boards, and the bookies scribbled tickets and they poked them in their cords. They were legging up the monkeys. Their style had to be seen. They were straight as Malcolm Johnson when he rode for Theo Green. And the trainers gave instructions, emphasising points precisely, and they pointed with their fingers, and the monkeys nodded wisely. Away the doggies scamper for the bunny on the rail. Some monks were riding backward, some were clinging to a tail. Some were riding it like Cossacks, holding on with nails and teeth, while two were on the favourite with a third slung underneath. And they came to the first hurdle, and the monkey started vaulting from one dog to another. There was brilliant somersaulting. One monk produced a lariat, lassoed the leading dog, who fell down with a broken leg and lay there like a log. At the third, it was amazing. They were falling off like fruit, while round the rails in ragged ranks, the dogs in hot pursuit. One monkey took a piggyback up on the electric hare and was singing Annie Laurie like a real fair income lair. There were monkeys in the flower bed, monkeys up the pole. One dived into a bookie's bag, grabbed himself a roll. They seemed to scatter everywhere, and before you'd time to shout, one dived into the sentry box and pulled the switches out. This caused a pandemonium. The night was black as tar, but the monkeys who were punting gave a loud and long hurrah, and the little beggars just seemed to sense the action on the track, and that drunk, I know, kept yelling, "But what did the monkeys back?" After 5 or several minutes, when the lights came flashing on, "And the Captain Cook," said Tommy. "God save us all," said Ron. Monkey 2 was riding 7. 7 was riding 3. 4 monks were on the favourite, who was wobbling at the knee. Monkey 8 was riding 2, and 2 was riding 4, and as they cleared the final jump, the monkeys gave a roar. The monkeys in the flower bed thought they'd do a jig. Well, they looked just like Wonga Willie in the middle of a gig. But 2 monks with their legs tied and their grin upon their face were limping towards the finish in a triple-legged race, and a monkey with a little bit of twine pulled a dog who had died from laughing by the tail across the line. Well, there were many protests entered, 4,328. 2 more monks pulled the dog across the line, too late, and that drunk, well, he came towards me, he gave me ribs of pride, he said, "Well, what did you have your money on, the monkey or the dog?" And the tote was reassembled, and they flashed the number 2. All the monkeys backed it. You should have seen the queue. With scornful shouts of merriment, they queued along the rail, the girls like Susan Peacock, the boys in hats and tails. I was staring at my tickets. I went to get a shot, but you guessed it, all the pies were cold, all the beer was hot. But I couldn't believe me numbers, not as long as I live. My 2 monkey dog trifecta paid $1 million div. True story, I promise. Have a look. Yeah, do a Google search. Dennis's wonderful use of the language there when the monkeys rode the Greyhounds.
What do you think?
I think we're going to do a song now from John Dengate. Yeah. When John was still teaching, he wrote a play and wrote songs to put in the play for his class, and they performed the play. And one of the songs he wrote I find particularly beautiful. It's a song for Bold Jack Donohoe. And if you remember John singing for Bold Jack, you'll know that he had a particular way of evoking that time in Sydney. And it's harking back a little bit to Sally Sloane in the sense that John very purposely used, as you know, probably know, John wrote some original music, but he considered a good tune far too important for just one set of words. And Sally Sloane, who we've mentioned already tonight, sang a song called the Cruskeen Lawn, an Irish song. And John took that tune and wrote a beautiful song for Bold Jack Donohoe. For those of you living in Sydney, especially in Western Sydney, it comes from a time when the toll collectors were very different, had a very different approach. It was certainly still a free market enterprise. And Bold Jack Donohoe was the first of our very, very well-known bushrangers from that time, 1820s and 30s.
Lay him in his grave, Donohoe the brave, gaze a final time upon his face, and lay him in his resting place. Old Jack Donohoe, now we bid farewell to you. Your wild bush ranging days are at an end. From the mountains to the sea, you defied authority, a friend to all the prisoners in the gangs and jails in the colony of New South Wales. Lay him in his grave, Donohoe the brave, gaze a final time upon his face, and lay him in his resting place. In his grave, Donohoe the brave, gaze a final time upon his face, and lay him in his resting place.
Can you imagine that with a choir of school kids singing that?
Yeah, I always picture a bunch of Year 6 kids singing that. Nothing like kids singing a song like that to break your heart. In 1913, there was an incident in Bynalong. I love Bynalong. It's one of my favourite little towns, just a little bit south of here, for those who are a bit further away and need you to get the geography right, a little bit south of here, down towards Yass. And what had happened was some shearers had not been invited to the spring ball and were disappointed and took matters into their own hands. And the ball was held anyway, and the shearers had a little act of sedition. If this song doesn't fit into an off-the-beaten-track show, then it doesn't really fit anywhere. It's a song called The Bynalong Incident. It started life from a bloke who was there. Clary Regan wrote the most of the words, a lot of the words, and John Dengate, well, it's actually given to Norm Dengate, John's dad, and John decided that he would finish the song. It's a true story, another true story. It's important to remember that. Yeah, sedition is not always on a large scale, and this is the Bynalong Incident. One of John's lesser known songs, but I think it's a cracker. Great act of protest. We've got time for one more or two after this, I hope, and hope you're having fun, enjoying the, what are we calling them, Saturday streaming, number 3, off the beaten track. Next week's the request show. Got quite a few requests already, but jump in if you've got something you would like to hear. In 2 weeks we'll do a whole show for John Dengate. It's a show we've performed at the National and a couple of other festivals, and it'll be on the anniversary of John's passing in 2013, and I can't wait to spend some time in good company singing some of the best songs written. If ever you go a-travelling, take a trip away down south, and when you get to Piddled, hop out and shut your mouth. For in that town you'll find there's blokes that's fit for anything. But if you treat the boys alright, they'll treat you like a king. Oh, there's Jonesy from the timber mill, a lad that's full of grit. And Smithy from the butcher shop, he threw a can of shit. And Billy Winks from Cutz's store came down to lend a hand. And Willie Riley laughed so loud, he said, I think it's grand. Well, they shook the shit from Rooney's pub the night they held the ball. They hoisted it on shoulders high and marched up to the hall. They all took up their posies then, by window and by door. And at the given signal, boys, they flung it on the floor. There's a lady neath the window, all dressed up in fancy clothes, was waltzing with a squatter when the smell assailed her nose. She thought that she had broken wind and blushed a little bit. But when she saw her bustle boys, she fainted screaming shit. Now I know there's some dance musicians out there tonight, and can you picture the band in the hall that night? As someone who's done a lot of dances, lots and lots of dances, the one thing you know is no matter what happens in the hall, you don't stop playing. So clearly on this bit. The ball it ended early, God, I can't imagine why. The squatters, they were furious, and they waved a hue and cry. They could not get a verdict, though they did invoke the law. Now the courthouse bells are ringing, and the Bindalong boys are singing for the shit flung on the floor. Yes, we've read the newspaper reports now, and it's pretty accurate. Most of the boys, when they were brought before the beak, they did plead guilty. After all, they did it. But one of the boys' father had a legal connection in Sydney, and this fancy legal man came down to defend some of the boys, probably for the sheer joy and pleasure of the case, I'm guessing, certainly pro bono. And he did some research and found out that the only eyewitness who could actually place the lads outside the hall with the cans of night soil, she could not explain what she was doing outside the hall at that time of night without her husband. And the whole case collapsed, and some of the lads were let off, and one of the wags got up in the tower and rang the bell for liberty, and rightly so. I sang that song in 2014. It was a poetry weekend in that beautiful Bluestone Hall, and the hall was full. And it'd been a poetry weekend, and everything was going terrific with the poetry. And they just said, in dinner time, you reckon you could sing us a song or three? I thought, if I got the song for you. And that big hall was loaded, and that song, that's still fresh stuff in Barren. And there was a lot of blow-ins from other parts of the country as well, and they just were watching the locals to see what would happen. Thankfully, about 3/4 of the way through, one of the local farmers decided it was funny and took the pressure valve, let off the pressure valve, and it was a terrific experience. I was so pleased to take Clary and John's song back to Barren in that hall. Picture the windows, picture the door, picture the night soil. Great act of sedition, sort of justice on a small scale. But leading into the next song, what I remember is just towards the end of the song, and the audience had decided it was funny, and I was singing the song, I looked up the back of the hall and I could see the War Memorial board on the back of the hall, and I could see some of the names from the song on the board, and I'm thinking, oh no, it's 1913.
Yeah.
This is where these lads are headed. They're headed to the war to end all wars. And that's where this piece comes in. We've got time for 2 more for you tonight, I think.
Wow, this is the most beautiful piece. This is a poem that Mark Gregory actually found when in his trawlings through Trove. He found this one. It's called A Returned Soldier's Lament. It was published in 1924 in Queensland in a newspaper written by M.H. Edgerly. And a friend of ours, Lorraine Purcell, did some digging and discovered that Mary Edgerly was a young girl. She was only 21 when she wrote this. But she'd been there volunteering in the Red Cross at age 12 or so in the First World War, so Megan's age, and had taken it all quite seriously. And she was a great writer. She entered writing competitions and essay competitions. And get the feeling she was a serious child, Mary.
So three short verses, but very striking writing. Really quite a powerful piece, and we've hung the tune off the words to make it a song.
6 years today since last the guns took their red toll on Flanders soil. 6 years since brute in human form tall spire and meadow did despoil, and 6 years dead the war's red light, yet still I hear the guns at night. 9 years today he said goodbye, with jesting word from heavy heart, and smiling lips that hid the pain, and hands that clung, then fell. 9 years today we laughed at fate, but still I hear him at the gate. 8 years have gone by since he fell. They say he dropped in no man's land, in onward rush intent to kill, a soldier's weapon in his hand. 8 years ago I lost my all, but all my life I see him fall.
It's a returned soldier's lament. Look, I think we might have time for the two. I was thinking we wouldn't, but we will, as long as the battery holds out on the
Yes,
phone. There.
if we suddenly disappear, the phone's gone flat, and sorry about that.
We can't do an off the beaten track show without doing. Well, there's two songs I've got in mind. The one is from Alan Scott, and I think it's a strong song of protest. We haven't done much values-based stuff tonight, and it'd be nice just to get this one in of Alan's. One of my favourite singers of Australian songs, Alan, and I've been singing this one for a long time. Hasn't really brought the trains back in any meaningful way, but we keep trying. I think we've got a theme show we do called There Won't Be Any Trains, which is all train songs that feature trains that blow up, break down, or don't appear at all.
Yep.
And one day we might do that one a bit later in the year. There's some grand songs. But here's Alan's Moss Vale Train. I don't know if we've got any Southern Highlands folks in tonight or from Picton, but it's for you. Well, I'm standing on Campbelltown Station, waiting for the Moss Vale train, when this bloke comes out with a microphone and he says it's been cancelled again.
Oh, what? Again?
Well, he says it's not his problem if we can't get our ride. The train pulled into Minto and committed suicide. Now he says he's ordered buses to take us on our way, and now he thinks we should be grateful. Yeah, that's what I heard him say. So now we're lurching down the freeway, we're watching Yankee videos. I hope we get to Moss Vale before the shops all close. Oh, yeah. Bloke on the sea here beside me, he was going for a job interview, but by the time we get to Picton, all his chances of employment are through. And my wife waits for me in Carroll, she'll be going off her brain. She's staring down the railway track, and there won't be any trains. So I'll bring back the train. Oh yeah, mate. Makes enough to make you cranky, Chloe. Word of advice: if you're standing on Campbelltown Station, you're waiting for the 2:31, and some clown comes out with a microphone. He tells you the train won't run. Will you tell him it is his problem?
damn straight.
It's a problem for all
You know
of
what?
us.
Pass on
Tell
the
him you
message.
want your train
We
back.
seriously
You don't want
need
his
a
stupid
decent
bus.
rail
Ask for your
system.
ticket money back and
I've
bloody
been paying for
walk
my
if you have
tickets
to.
for years,
Stick
and
your
where
thumb
does the
out,
money go?
hitchhike,
I don't
do what
know.
you have to do.
Hopeless.
They're the railways you own. Or you'll be lurching down the freeway. Oh, you're hoping to get there soon, with all the money they spent on the freeway. They built a railway to the moon. They built a railway to the moon. All out, all change. Alan Scott. One of his own songs.
We got to do this.
I think we have to finish tonight with... You can't do an off-the-beaten-track show without Michael O'Rourke.
Yep.
It's really just a matter of which song do you want to sing.
And we're not even going that far off the track with Michael O'Rourke, really.
It's a song that I love. This song, it just brings back so much of probably your childhood, and probably certainly mine and Chloe's. It just resonates so beautifully with the way music works for people, and at a time in our life where we're having to really seriously think about the way music works in our life. It's good to just make sure we take this kind of spirit with us into the online world. I mean, I hope you've enjoyed tonight. We're sort of getting used to the format a little bit over time. We like it. We enjoy it. There's a lot to like about it. I like your company. We're going to sit down and read all your comments. We certainly appreciate those who do chip in a little or a lot with the donations. Some of you have been so generous, but please, it's a free concert. Just come in, listen for a bit, stay for a bit, go away. Regardless, watch and listen as much as you like. We throw the concert up. It's always available. So always, I mean, it'll be available to watch. Catch up or whatever they say.
Still there tomorrow.
Still there tomorrow, in other words. But whatever we do in the future with our music, I hope that the kind of spirit that Michael catches in this song is never lost. We're just making the best of it, folks. One day we'll sing together again. But we seem to be at the very sharp end of where this virus is a problem. Singing. One of the scariest things about this virus is we don't get to sing together. So much of the way the world changes for the better is through people singing together. My first childhood days, and now I suppose I always will. Oh, it doesn't seem so long since I first got it wrong and earned myself a clip on the ear. For it's not the right thing take a Protestant hymn and to turn it into a music hall affair. Oh, we would sit around and sing, and the rafters would ring, and the rats in the roof hummed in tune, and the possums on the rails would hang by their tails, and the old dog howled at the moon. Oh, our hearts were all light, all the world seemed bright, as we sang the songs of long ago. We didn't care about a thing while we were listening to the Village Glee Club on the radio. begun to seem rather like the drover's dream, or whatever other name you know it by. But all songs will sound the same when they call out your name, in that small town talent quest up in the sky. Take care, everybody. Saturday streaming number 3. Requests next week. There's
Yes,
still a little
get 'em
room
in.
for another
Get
song
them
or
in
3.
early so we can practice them. That would be kind.
Yeah, and John Dengate in a couple of weeks. And we'll be adding some new dates, I think, because we're having fun and people seem to be enjoying it. So, yeah, let us know if you've got anything to say. We'll go back now, and the kids won't be in bed, but we'll go and listen to you, read your comments, and see how we all went. And, yes, maybe see you next week. Thanks, everybody.
Night, everyone.
Sweet dreams.